the most important products is the thermostat. And I want to pick out a thermostat that I know is in this box. And it's a wonderful thermostat that you can buy in any pet store, and it is the ZoomEd thermostat. It's this. Now, generally, a lot of the cutesy-wootsy little things that are in these packages, I'm a reptile breeder, so I breed, I keep things like bolins, pythons, Amazon basins, and all sorts of ball pythons, reticulated pythons, and all sorts of rare, crazy monitor lizards and all that. So I have to use thermostats and all sorts of different tools. I need to use the best tools. Certainly, I need to make them affordable. I also need to make them reliable. Keep that thing away. And I saw that was a Dan.
Dude, literally, what is with you? Oh, you hate
keep that
him.
thing away. If
You
he
hired
comes in
him.
here. So I need to use good products that are reliable. But secondly, if the product stinks, I'm not going to support it. I want to explain to everybody what a thermostat is. So a thermostat is a wonderful, wonderful bit of technology that allows us to provide a hot spot or maintain a warm area in a cage, but it monitors itself and it turns a power, something like a heating pad or a basking light, something that is powered that provides heat, and it turns it on and off. And that basically helps us maintain proper temperatures, whether it's ambient temperature or it's actual basking temperature. And I'm going to show you how that works.
I like your enthusiasm.
Okay, good. Is it all right?
It's
it's
real.
coming off good today.
Okay. All right.
You're a good faker, Kevin.
Yeah, I am.
All right.
Feeling it.
So this little thing, this is a digital thermostat. So digital means that I have absolute numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4. If I say it's analog and stuff like that, that's like, I'm using dials and stuff like that that gets it to the roundabout temperature. So if I plug this into it, being a light bulb, look at that. So if I set this thermostat to 90, I say get this wherever the spot is to 90 degrees, and once you hit 90 degrees, I want you to shut off. So once this probe, this is plastic, which is an insulator, and there we go.
Off.
Okay, so what this basically did, we simulated that this probe now sees 90 degrees. It's reached where it needs to be, and it's monitoring itself, so it's constantly checking itself. This is a little thermistor right there. And this basically allows current flow through a dope device, and I won't even go into all of the electronics and how it actually works. But now, as things start cooling down, I'm going to simulate that, and we still need to keep this hot spot at 90, so things are cooling down. There we go. So all this thing wants to do, if I take this probe and put it, usually if I tape it down and I put this on a block, a brick, a ceramic tile, some kind of area where this animal can bask, or this is the place where the animal's locating itself, I need to make sure I fasten this to an area so it's always checking. 24/7, it's always checking its own temperature. And that is a wonderful, wonderful gadget that years ago we didn't have something this fancy that's this affordable. These are incredibly affordable. They're very reliable. I think these things are doing 13 to 1500 watts. And so basically watts is the power that this thing can handle. So this can handle a very large array of lights. So 1500 watts, so that's essentially can handle almost about 1500 watt bulbs. The problem is with bulbs, if we turn them on and off all the time, back and forth, every single time that goes on and off, we are shortening the lifespan of that little element inside the light bulb. So that's one thing you probably do want to expect. So some light bulbs are a little bit wimpy than others, but this would be ideal to connect this to a heating pad. Inside, let's say we have a 20 long fish tank, we put a heating pad underneath the tank, we then put this into the tank, the probe, we tape it down, and that is going to monitor the hot spot. So if I set this thermostat to 90, and I put this there, I want to come back with like a temp gun. So let's say I want my hot spot, let's say the hot spot for a ball python, I do know a thing about ball pythons, let's say I set it for like 94, 95 degrees. It'd be great to come with my temp gun, and then once I hit about 94, 95, I can back this off and do some more adjustments to get this thing dialed in. So let's say this thing says it has to be 97 degrees for me to get a 94 hot spot. That works great. So you use that, the two things together, it works great. So this is a product I give an A+ to. ZoomEd thermostat is a wonderful product, and I like it a lot.
Look at all your cool stuff.
All right, so we're right now, there's a lot of ZoomEd stuff. We carry a lot of ZoomEd because basically the whole line, whether it's fixtures or the diets or the vitamins or the products like a Power Sun, this is a nifty product. And they basically got this from, they use this in plastic curing and photosensitive circuitry and stuff like that. But this is a wonderful thing that's used well for reptiles. Now, what is different about that expensive little light bulb? This guy right here, most lights emit heat. So they'll give us a visual light that our animals will respond to as a day and night cycle. But something like this, besides the visual light and the heat, it also emits UVB. So UVB is going to be the wavelength, and it's also going to be power. It's going to have a powerful UVB versus a very, very low level UVB. So it has its power to cast the UVB down inches into the animal's environment. And UVB is basically imitating the sun's wavelengths. So when we have proper spectrum of light, which is associated with sunlight, things like bearded dragons, iguanas, monitor lizards, chameleons, and such like that, what it does is it elevates the D3 levels in their bloodstream. So if, like they say with people, you're feeling depressed or whatever, go get 15 minutes of sunlight, unfiltered sunlight. Going outside will actually help elevate our D3 levels because we respond and react to UVB. Reptiles the same. And remember, reptiles like Uromastyx lizards, they are sun worshipers. So they really appreciate UVB, and it's something that you need to understand. So when we have a light bulb like that emits heat, I can't even speak, emits heat, light, and UVB, it basically improves the quality of your animal's life. But what's very important is when the D3 levels are elevated, the D3 levels being elevated in the blood allows things like calcium absorption. So calcium is used by all reptiles and certainly us. Calcium is used in the day-to-day metabolic process. It's used in nerve communication. It's very, very critical. And it's also used for bone growth. So basically, it's essential for all reptiles. And one of the big things that we lose lizards to, bearded dragons, iguanas, and stuff like that, is metabolic bone disease. Certainly chameleons and stuff like that. And you'll start seeing a bearded dragon sitting there and it's twitching, right? So it's doing this twitching. What's happening is the nerves are firing because there's not enough calcium for them to properly communicate. So they're firing. So they start doing this random twitching. You start seeing the muscles. I'm doing a really good job at doing that. I'm looking like a fool. So anyways, I have to keep my hands straight. So what's happening is that animal's telling you it's not probably the D3 levels are not appropriate, the calcium levels are not appropriate, and maybe there's no UVB when there should be some. If you're not providing UVB, in some cases you can supplement with D3. So we can actually give it a powdered supplement of D3, put it into the diet, and we coat things like the crickets and the insects or the food. And when the animals are eating it, they're ingesting that D3, which elevates the D3 levels in the blood. And then the calcium, of course, that you're providing in the diet, dusting your insects and stuff like that, the animal's pulling the calcium it needs, pulling the D3 levels, also pulling the magnesium, all other things that it needs to basically maintain proper nerve function, metabolism, and bone growth, and basically just well-being. So we need to think about if we're going to provide D3 by light or if we're going to provide D3 by supplements. We can also use power compact bulbs. ZoomEd makes like a 10.0 UVB or UVB 5.0. We also have T8 and T5 fluorescent bulbs that also have a UVB emission. Generally, something like this, which is this 160 watt product. So this basically pushes a lot of UVB out, so its output is actually rather high. After probably about 8 months, even this is still emitting light, a fair bit of the UVB I'm sure has been dropped off. They don't just, from day one, their output of UVB is, let's say, 100%. So 8 months later, it's not going to be the same thing. And this is also very true with your fluorescent light bulbs. So date your fluorescent light bulbs. I would say if you basically date them 6 to 8 months from the day you buy them and turn them on, it's going to put out UVB. But after about 8 months, its emission is very, very low. So it's a really good idea to replace the bulb. Even though it's producing light, it's not producing a lot of UVB. And that's still applicable also to power compacts. So just so it don't look like we're totally biased for Zoom Ed, we also carry other products too. But vitamins like this are critical when you're keeping any type of lizards. When we're keeping things like snakes, we're providing them whole prey, being rodents and such. And they're getting the calcium and the necessary vitamins through the rodent, through the organs of the rodent, the bones, and the diet that you're feeding the rodent. And hopefully you're feeding good quality rodent food. So when we have, this is multivitamins, and we have calcium. Okay, this is real critical. So this is calcium with D3. So if I'm going to keep something like a bearded dragon, a chameleon, uromastix, or whatever, it is nice to provide a light source that gives UVB emission, but if you are not doing it, you need to make sure you have a good hot spot in managing all your temperatures in the basking. But this has D3 and calcium, so this is actually going to provide what's needed for proper bone growth and function and nerve communication, whatever. So that's a really good product. And actually both of these, and these are just like multivitamins. But things like this are essential and never skimp. When you have leopard geckos and stuff like that, you can either dust your food or you can put little cups of that. And a lot of times the geckos, when they feel deprived of calcium or whatever, they'll go over and actually lick it straight up. Doesn't seem to probably taste so great, but whatever. Okay, Rapasci. Alan Rapasci, he's made wonderful products, the food and stuff like that. So all the Rapasci products, as far as the supplements and the complete diets for Rhacodactylus, Leishmaniasis, and stuff like that stuff is stellar. It's great. The packaging is wonderful. It's a really good seller. He's even gone into fish foods and like all sorts of specific Placo diets and stuff like that. So he's really got it nailed down. I cannot say enough about the products. So they get an A+ for sure. Here's an interesting one. Well, what do I think about this? So this is basically, I've got an animal, and this is basically electrolyte soak. I have not used this, but the principle of this is this. When you have an animal and it's stressed out from being dehydrated, let's say you just rescued it, let's say you got it from somebody, you got it from an expo, one of the easiest things you can do, and I often do this, I'm always soaking my animals. When I get my animals, I soak them, very shallow water, you give them a chance to drink. This makes sure proper hydration. You cannot expect your animals to fare well and do well if you're not even giving them the simplest thing, which is being hydrated and managing their temperatures. So with something like this, in the soak, the water, you can add electrolytes. So basically things like this, essential salts and whatever. So this is basically gonna be a little thing to bolster it. So I actually like a product like this.